Reviewing Resident Evil Remastered, which is the remastered version of the 2002 GameCube edition of Resident Evil, and that's the first game in the mansion for those people who are unsure. Now, the game is coming out on the 20th of January and will be about £16 for the entire game, which is good. I mean, the Resident Evil game is only short as it is, but it's really good to get that price for a game nowadays in HD, in great graphics. It's coming to PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One and PC. For the next gen consoles and PC, it will be in 1080, and for the older gen consoles, it will be in 720. This new edition will also include 5.1 surround sound, so you can hear zombies everywhere, which is obviously what we all want to do when we play this game. We want to be scared. The game is also only a digital release, so there'll be no physical copy of this game. That's the only edition that Capcom are giving us. The game will also now include the BSAA costumes, so if you want to run around like Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield from later on in the Resident Evil series, like Resident Evil 5, and just look badass, you can use those costumes, or you can stay to the original STARS costume from the first game. And that is the basic stuff we know about the game so far. But I'm going to go in and tell you guys the story for those of you who are new to the Resident Evil game. Obviously those who have played this game before, you all know all this. But I'm going to go for the story and then I'll go for the gameplay, so here goes. Now, this game was first released in 1996, but as I said before, this remastered version will be based on the 2002 edition. So that's great news, because younger gamers will be able to see this game in its full HD, and I think that's important because Resident Evil was a groundbreaking game, and I think it's nice that young gamers will be able to experience that game without having to root out the PlayStation 1, which must seem ancient to some people now. But moving on, this game is basically about the Special Forces Division STARS are sent out to investigate some bizarre murders on the outskirts of Raccoon City. However, the team originally sent out disappears, and it's up to Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield to go in there and search for the Bravo team. So you basically get to the drop zone, you're in an eerily quiet forest, great setting scene there for a horror game, and boom, you get chased by wild savage dogs who look a bit creepy. Yes, these are zombie dogs. For those people who have been loyal to the Resident Evil series, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, you get chased by zombie dogs to this mansion, because that's the only thing in the forest, this mansion. So you think you've reached a safe haven when you get there, but no. This mansion is actually full of loads of undead, weird monsters, traps, and goodies. So basically you've got to work your way out of this mansion to a safe haven, but to get out of the mansion you've got to explore every crook and cranny of it to get keys that open certain doors, but these doors might turn you into a Jill sandwich. For those people who don't know what I'm talking about, you'll be like, what? But yes, Jill can turn into a sandwich. So you have that to look forward to.
Take care.
Yeah.
The game will be about 8 to 10 hours, obviously depending on the difficulty and how long you take to get through it, but they're estimating about that time. So it's obviously shorter than the average game, but it is a classic, so I'm not too bothered about that. There are 12 slightly different endings, depending on who you play, because you can play as Jill, you can play as Chris, and they have slight alterations, but not much. The game devs have also added in new bits to the mansion, not so much so that you have no idea where that came from and you're like, that doesn't seem to fit in this game. They're just slight alterations, so you can be going from the house to a graveyard into a corridor that you've never seen before, but those small things and slight alterations to the puzzles have lengthened out the game from the original, but all in all it's pretty much the same game story-wise. And that's all for the story. Now on to the gameplay. For this I'm going to cover obviously old aspects and new aspects of the game. Now, as I've mentioned, there are bits that have been changed in the game, such as certain locations, and some of the puzzles have been tweaked, so we've got that to look forward to. We'll have a bit of difference there. We can also choose between a 4.3 ratio, which is obviously the original, or a 16:9 ratio, which is the widescreen. But because of this, bits of the screen are chopped off. But when you move your character further to one edge of the screen that has been chopped off will scroll into view. So you'll always be able to see everything, even though things have been chopped out of your way. But I think that might add to the horror element, the fact that you might not be able to see everything all at once and you have to move into the scenery just to see what's going on. So I'm looking forward to that. You can now also 180-degree turn. Now, for people who didn't play the original, you're probably like, yeah, standard. But for those people who played the original, you're like, yes, lifesaver. I might not get eaten by dogs with this lovely turn that they've included. You've also got defense weapons, and these can be used in desperation. So in the new Resident Evil games, you have like a blade to melee attack. These are basically what these defense weapons are. If you run out of ammo, you can use these weapons just to get by, but I doubt they will be killing foes for you. They'll just give you enough time to get away. Now, the classic controls still exist, and this is obviously not analog, just the classic controls, but they have also included modern controls, and obviously this is moving with the analog stick, so everything feels a bit more fluid. Now personally, I might not be one to choose this option, because what made the first game scary, and I think what makes horror games scary in general, is the fact that you feel like you can't move properly when something's chasing you. So I'll probably stick into the classical controls for that added difficulty, but for new gamers to the series who just want to see what this game is all about, you do have the modern controls there, so you don't have to struggle. They have also upped textures and the resolution, obviously, because it's a HD remaster, so it looks nicer and things will probably look a bit scarier. Though for me, bad pixels scare me the most. But they have upped the textures of things. The backgrounds look phenomenal, so we've got that to look forward to in the gameplay. There are also 267 door animations in the game. Now, Resident Evil, this first game, was famous for its door animations. Every time you open a door, you were like, I have no idea where I'm going, because there would just be this animation before you actually got into the room, which A, made you feel a bit happier because you're like, I've got a moment here to breathe, but at the same time, you had no idea what you were facing. So in this one, we've got 267 door animations to add to the effect. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of those. On PC, we'll also be able to reach 60 frames per second, which is ace, but obviously for console gamers, you'll only be able to reach the 30 frames per second. They've also included a new engine, which has real-time shadows depending on lights and dynamic particle effects. So these are just basically better stuff to make the graphics look better. So you'll be like, oh, I have a shadow, and it's getting softer depending on where the light is, and there's particles, you know, just tech stuff that will make us feel more engaged in the game. So that's cool. Okay, so that's kind of the new things that the game has given us in terms of gameplay, and I'll go over just the basic gameplay in general for those people who are new to the series. Now, the mansion is crawling with enemies, and as it is a survival horror, you have item boxes so you can store excess baggage, but you can only hold a limited amount of stock, and that's why you need these item boxes scattered throughout the house to drop any ammo and stuff in that you can't hold in your inventory, because when you're picking up quest-related items, they take up space in your inventory, which is really annoying but kind of brilliant for a survival horror. So if you pick up any ammo and you're forced to get rid of it, make sure you put it in one of the caches around the house, but beware, these will be guarded by some horrible monsters. The game also includes a lot of puzzles and quests to basically get you through the house. The doors might be locked and you might have to go find arrowheads or keys to get into them, which will then let you access a different area of the house, which will probably let you finish a puzzle that you started right at the beginning of the house. So you've got that kind of progression through the mansion using puzzles and obviously fighting things. You save the game on typewriters, which is just awesome, but that's how you save the game. It's very old-fashioned and brilliant. Now, I mentioned it as before, you can play as Chris or Jill. Jill has a lockpick and is aided by Burton, who gives her ammo and things like that. Now, Burton is also in the new Revelations 2 game for people who are long-time fans of the series, so way! Good time to recap on Burton, I think, in this game. You also can play as Chris. Now, he's obviously stronger than Jill, and he's aided by Chambers, who offers healing for Chris. So I think it's probably harder to play as Chris because Jill has a bit more skills, but Chris is stronger, so I guess it's an even playing field. But I will probably go through the mansion as Jill to begin with because she's just awesome. Now that is everything I have to say about Resident Evil Remastered. Now I know it's not a lot, but the game is rather short, and obviously it is a classic game that has just been remastered. I've covered the story, the new features in the gameplay, the old features from the gameplay, and now it's time for my verdict, just my little tidbit for you guys. Now for this game, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It is probably something I will pick up or wait until the Steam sale and pick up, because the first Resident Evil game definitely, for me, changed the face of survival horror. It was a key game in the moment of survival horror. When I came into gaming, it was Resident Evil and Silent Hill. They were the two big contenders when they were trying to scare you, and nothing has scared me really as much since, probably because I'm not a child anymore and things are less scary, but these two games were phenomenal, so I'm happy that they've got Resident Evil and buffed it up to amazing specs, because I think it gives a chance for new gamers to get into the series and see what an amazing game it was, because a lot of people are scared by those crazy terrible graphics, and PlayStation 1s might be hard to come by now unless you're a pure retro gamer. So that's why I'm giving it 8 out of 10. I think everyone should explore this story if they haven't, and if you have explored the story, why not revisit the mansion in full HD, because what could be bad about that? Just want to say thanks for watching my pre-review of Resident Evil, and the next pre-review I will be releasing will be about Dying Light, an amazing zombie game that is probably going to crash all big rigs over the world, because I don't know if PCs can handle such an amazing game. But I will be pre-reviewing that before the end of the month, and I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and share the video if you found it informative, and I'll see you guys next time.